Hey folks, Gwe. Stumbled across a rant by one of my favorite public speakers from Tennessee. And it turns out he's got some folks in his congregation who aren't real happy with his direction, aren't real happy with the direction he's leading the church. They're not happy with the message that he is offering to his congregation over and over and over and over again. They're a little disconcerted. They're a little concerned that his message is so filled with a political ideology and less filled with a theology of Jesus Christ. In this rant of his, he says, I believe his exact words are, "Some of you all under this tent have the hardest time keeping your mouths shut about your church." Really, they have a hard time keeping their mouths shut about him. But he says you have a hard time keeping your mouth shut about your church. And what I really want to talk about today is that notion. Because I don't believe we should ever keep our mouths shut about the direction of our church. We should never keep our mouths shut about the direction that we as a congregation are moving. We as a denomination are moving. We as a diocese are moving. We as a faith are moving. We should never stop talking about that. We should always be talking about our church because for two reasons. Number one is when we're on the right path, we need to let the world know. When we're doing the right thing, we need to let people know. Come, be a part of this. Help us do these good things. Become a part of this so that you too can help us grow our communities, enrich our communities, help our communities thrive. Be a part of this. Help us love those around us. That's the first reason. So never stop talking about the direction your church is going, especially when your church is going in the right direction. But the second reason, and I would argue probably the more important reason, is that when our church is going in the wrong direction, when our congregations are moving in the wrong direction, when our pastors are leading us in the wrong direction, we need to be willing to speak up and speak out. We need to be willing to let people know we are not happy, we have concerns, that this doesn't feel right, that this experience is not what we come to expect in a Christian place. Or this isn't what we come to expect given the mission that we know our organization to be on. Far too often in the past, silence. That mentality, well, I better not say nothing. That has simply led to more and more and more carnage. If we don't say anything and we continue down the wrong path, we're only going to go further down that path. It's only going to take us longer and longer and longer to get back to the right path. Ultimately, it's only going to cause more damage to us as an organization, as a faith. Ultimately, it's only going to cause more damage to those it impacts. We should never be silent. And the church, God knows the church throughout history has a history of being silent on big important issues. My church, the Anglican Church, was formed in the 1500s when King Henry VIII went to Rome and said, "Hey, Pope, I want to do a few things differently, and it's about more than just divorce. I want to do a few things differently. I want to go in a few different ways." And the Pope said, "No." Henry goes back to England. Henry's in England. He tells his people, he tells his bishops to gather. The bishops all gathered together. He asks the question, "I want to leave the Church of Rome. Who's with me?" Some said yes. Very few, if any, said no. Most kept silent. And their silence was counted as yea. Their silence was seen as an affirmation, a validation of what Henry wanted. Now, that's just one example. How many times have congregations been silent when they knew the priest, the pastor, was acting inappropriately, dangerously? How many times have congregations been silent when the priest, the pastors, were profiteering on the work that we were supposed to be doing? How many times have congregations been silent when churches have moved in ways that have literally harmed the communities around them, the communities these churches were actually supposed to help? No, silence doesn't work. Speak up. Speak out. This is the only way forward into growth. It's the only way forward for us as people to become the people that God asks us to become. This is the only way that we can make sure that our organization, whatever organization may be, that our faith, whatever our faith may be, parish, church, denomination, whatever, speaking up and speaking out is the only way that we can make sure that we're always moving in the right direction. Yeah, when everybody has an opinion, it can be difficult to navigate. But silence ain't never the way forward. Silence just leads us to a place where more and more and more people are being harmed, sacrificed for the ego, the motivation, sacrificed for the ideology of a few. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray you'll never be silent. I pray that when you see wrong being done, when you see injustice, when you see the vulnerable being taken advantage of, when you see the powerful moving in ways that they have no business moving in ways, predatory ways, moving in ways that are destructive to individuals, to groups, to the congregation, to the church, to the faith, to the body of Christ, that you'll let your voice be heard. Amen. Numultus.